So Rabbi Sai, last week we mentioned a story about witches and warlocks, and we said Rashi brings down the story in Sanhedrin, and we questioned where was actually Rashi's source, because it's a little different than the Yerushalmi. And Rashi must have had some medrash. I didn't have really a lot of time to look into it. So our Rabbi Daniel here, Rabbi Daniel Irons, so he said at the Shabbos table, he said over the whole entire shir, well, not the whole shir, at least the beginning of the witches part, and all of a sudden his wife and kids said, we know that story, and they go to the shelf and they bring out this book, The Rabbi and the 29 Witches,
Hashtag not sponsored,
written by Marilyn Hirsch, and it's printed by Scholastic, which is a very well-known publisher, and the story is almost verbatim, like the Yerushalmi, a little bit different. In the Yerushalmi there are 80, over here it's 29. A couple little differences.
They
got a full moon in there, something about it, put a little werewolf type of stuff in there. But basically it's the same. And I'm looking at it. Does it say anywhere the sources? No. And so I guess they didn't want to get sued by Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan wrote the Yerushalmi. You don't want to plagiarism. But so anyone who wants another version of the story, buy this book. And Mrs. Marilyn Hirsch, if all of a sudden you get thousands of sales, please send Rabbi Fine a kickback. Please. Okay. So whoever she is. And actually, I'm sure the woke people got this thing canceled, got it banned. This is anti-women, anti-witches, intersectionality, women and witches,
not men.
Going against, so I'm sure this book you can't find anywhere because I'm sure it's been banned by the woke people, and that's what it is. Okay, but talking about the woke people, they just banned the Diary of Anne Frank, and I think it's maybe pronounced Mouse and Moss. All these books they're banning, they're taking off the shelf. Anyway, be it as it may, Rabbi Say, we will actually come back to the woke people very soon. Why? Because we are going to the auditing autopsies and kidney karma. I don't know if we'll get to the autopsy part today, but the kidney karma we'll definitely get to today. So we were talking last week about if you make a contract for kidneys. And we went through all the different permutations. We said you make a contract is binding. The donor, the recipient, better pay the donor. And we went through why is the contract binding? We went through, are you allowed to charge for a mitzvah? We went through all that. But we ended off saying, well, is it morally correct? Is it ethically correct? Maybe there's some other halachic issue here that we have to contend with. So, a little background. In most Western countries, you could donate your kidney and decide who the recipient is if he's a relative. You could go into a hospital. I want to donate my kidney to my relative. And the hospital will say, okay, you could choose. The donor could choose who the recipient is. In most countries, but not all, you could even decide you want to give it to a friend. You're allowed to say, I want to donate my kidney to a certain person, a certain friend. In some countries, you can't do that. Only I didn't go through it all, but in some countries, in Israel, you could do a friend or a relative. I think America too. But there are some countries that you can't give it to a friend, only relative. You can't give it to a friend, only relative. But in every country, there is obviously a concept of an organ bank, which very nice people, magnanimous people, just randomly donate their organs, and they don't know who the recipient is. They have no idea. And then there's a whole waiting list. And just recently, the woke people got all involved to make sure that a much larger percentage should go to black people. Whatever, black people in America are 14%, whatever they are. Like 50% must go to black people. They have affirmative action for getting organ donations, whatever it may be. So that's a big brouhaha now in America. Again, so that's an organ bank, which wonderful people just randomly donate their organs. And they don't know who it's going to go to, and there's a question who's going to get it. Now, if you know the situation, there's a major shortage of kidneys all over the world, especially in the Western countries, because you cannot charge for a kidney. A donor cannot take money. It's illegal. He'll be arrested. The broker will be arrested. I know some rabbis that got arrested already. You're not allowed to charge. That is the law in all Western countries. Illegal to take any money. Just recently, Trump got that a donor, he'll get money for like a hotel stay or like a little extra days of vacation from work. You know, he got him a little bit more. He got him a little bit more money, but nothing compared to what, you know, not hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, a couple of dollars to keep him to give him a little vacation or for a hotel stay. Okay, now the libertarians, the leftists, are no way can we ever commodify organ donation. We can never make it monetize it, and hence, since that is a situation, there's a shortage of 40,000 organs each year, and therefore thousands of people die, and more than thousands of people are sitting on dialysis, which is very uncomfortable. I mean, the doctor here could tell you it's not a cup of tea. Dialysis is terrible. It's something terrible. Now, the Republicans or the right wings want to try to legalize it. If the second it becomes legalized, there will be 40,000 organs that next day, right? You're gonna get whatever it is, $100,000, $150,000. All the problems will be solved. All right. So, in our days, what happens is a lot of times the very rich people, what do? So there's a waiting list, right? Doesn't make it if you're rich or poor, right? The woke people want to make it, if you're black, you should be on the top of the waiting list, right? So how does it work? A lot of rich people, they go to the third world countries, they go to Iran, they go to India, and in these countries, some countries it's legal, but even the countries that's not legal, there's a very strong black market, and there's basically government looks the other way. So these rich people fly to these third world countries, they pay an arm and a leg. The donor usually gets not even 10% of the money. It goes to all the crooked people in between, the brokers and the government official. This government official got paid off, and that government official got paid off, and this broker and that broker. At the end of the day, Nebuch, the donor, usually doesn't even get what he's promised, and whatever he gets is like a pittance. It's something very small. And that's what rich people do. And of course, you've seen all the every once in a while you hear about a tourist who wants to live on the edge. So he goes to some really third world country, and he gets a cold, and he goes into the hospital, and he walks out without a kidney. You know, you see some of the news happens every once in a while. He comes back home to America. So I had a cold, but my back is really hurting. I don't know what they did there. They took your kidney, buddy. That's what they did, right? So a lot of bad things going on because of the situation. If we would legalize it, all these problems would be solved. All the problems would be solved. It would be better actually in the third countries too. Because since it would be legalized in the Western countries, the whole world would be regulated. No one would be exploited. At least the poor people in the third world country would also be less exploited if they would legalize it. The bottom line is, it is not legalized. What does the Halacha say about this? What I'm going to do to this year is what are the pros, cons? What do the Gedolim were asking these questions? Rabbi Yashiv, all the Gedolim, you name it, Rabbi Orbach, they all ask them. They all ask these questions. What is the proper thing to do? Again, I don't know how much of a difference it makes because bottom line is most Western governments do not. It's illegal to take money. But let's discuss it. So some rabbi said, you know what? The Western governments are right. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't commodify it. You shouldn't monetize it. It's a good thing. Why? Because they say, listen, now it's free. It's true. Now there's a big shortage of kidneys. There's a big shortage of kidneys. That's true. But a bottom line is now it's free. And if we commodify it, it's going to cost a lot of money. At least $100,000 for a kidney, right? It costs a lot of money. So it'll be very taxing on the poor. It'll be very taxing on the middle class and the rich too. And a lot less people will donate. Now there are a group of people, magnanimous people, altruistic people who donate for free, right? Let's say you have 10,000 people. Once we commodify it, no one is going to donate for free. You know, the people who donate for free they'll really go down a lot. The numbers will really go down, right? So they say like this, they say, listen, if we monetize it, it's going to cost a lot of money. The poor can't afford it. Even the middle class is going to be tough for them. And it's, if you think about it, right now, everyone equally has the rights to the kidney. You can be poor, rich, black, red, green, yellow, Jewish, doesn't make a difference. And if you start monetizing it, who's going to get the kidneys? The poor, the rich. And the poor will lose out. So some rabbis feel that it's correct what the Western civilization has decided. And they invoke a Gemara. They say it's a Gemara. Well, what's the Gemara? Is the Gemara about kidneys? There's no Gemara about kidneys. But they bring a Mishnah in Gittin, very famous Mishnah. It says, "Ein poidim shvuin yetza kadei dmeim." The law is, in the good old days, I guess nowadays too, there were a lot of kidnappings, and there's something called pidyon shvuin, right? There's a mitzvah on the community. It's a communal mitzvah to redeem the captives, right? But the Mishnah says there's a limit. There's a limit. You can't redeem captives more for their going price. Yes, like they demand. More for their going price. Why? Ticket island. Because the ticket island, right? Us all Jews are all ticket island because they're foreign Jews. Ticket island! We want to save the world, save society, save the whales, save everyone, right? Ticket island. Great. So what does that mean exactly? The Gemara says, what does this mean? Why can't you pay a lot of money or more than the market price to redeem captives? The Gemara gives two reasons. What is a tikkun olam? Either because duchta de sibura, or because loy ligri yelesi tzei. First reason is because if the terrorists or whatever it is, the kidnappers, are charging an exorbitant price, it's going to be too taxing on the community. Like we said, usually opinion shvuin, the whole community had to do it, right? Then this would happen every once in a while. If we have to limit how much we could tax the community, how much we could put on the community, and therefore, if the captives were charging the going price, then they're good guys. They're terrorist class. The kidnappers is class. They're charging the normal price, fine. So funny how we deal with it. Oh, but if they're overcharging, that's a chutzpah. What type of kidnappers are you? Don't you have any morals? Don't you have any principles? Right? Then we say, it's too much. It's going to be too taxing on the community. That's one reason. The other reason is, another reason is if we pay terrorists or kidnappers more money than they're supposed to get, that will be an incentive for them to kidnap more and more and more, right? You got this, Gentile. Oh, I should go to school, so I become a lawyer, a doctor? No, I'll become a terrorist. Look how much money these guys make. It's a great job. I'll get $1 million for each guy I capture. So therefore, so those are the two reasons. Either A, it's going to be too taxing on the community. B, it's going to incentivize the kidnappers, the terrorists, to capture more and more and more, and to get more and more and more. The Gemara says, what's the nafkamina? The Gemara brings a story. There was a guy, Levi Bar Darga, that he ransomed he redeemed his daughter for some crazy price. 12,000 dinrei zav. That's even more money than I owe. A lot of money. 12,000 dinrei zav, like way over. And the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says, so we see l'chayra that the real problem is duchta sibura, because how did Levi do it? I mean, if the problem is it's a communal, it's going to be too taxing on the community. So if one private guy wants to pay an exorbitant amount, so that's not taxing on the community. Right? The first reason is it's too taxing on the community. Because like I said, pidyon shvuyim was a tax that the rabbis made the community. Basically, the community had to do it. They had no choice. So if it's going to be too much money, it's going to be too much for the community. But if a private guy wants to spend $1 zillion, it's going to do the community. But if it's a second reason, what's the second reason? That it's going to incentivize more kidnapped and more terrorists. That doesn't make a difference who gives them the money. It doesn't make a difference who gives them the money. It's going to be an incentive for them to capture more and more and more. So since Levi did this, so you see that the first reason is the right reason, Dukta de Sibura, and since Levi was a private entity, that the Kana didn't apply. The Gemara says, no, maybe Levi did it, but he was wrong for doing it. actually maybe he was wrong for doing it. I mean, the Gemara leaves off, doesn't tell us which is the right reason. Is the reason called ducher sipura? It's going to be too taxing on the community, or the reason is because it's going to be it's going to incentivize the getting right. By the way, this is not the shir now. This is the big sugya about terrorists. We know, like Gilad Shalit, when they gave 1,000 terrorists for him. Prison exchange. This is where the sugi's at. It's not a shir for now. We're not going there right now. But this is where it's at. Okay? So therefore, what do you see from here? Now, what do you see from here? What do these rabbis say? We see from here that if we're going to cause a tremendous, so the rabbis bring this Gemara, say, we're all worried about creating too much of a difficult situation on the community, right? So here too, if we're going to commodify kidneys, it's going to cost everyone so much money. Some people won't be able to afford it. So they bring this Gemara to buttress their case, support this case that we're all worried about. We make the kanas to make sure the community aren't overtaxed. Okay, so that's what they do. Now, obviously, this is a terrible comparison. First of all, why is it a terrible comparison? First of all, most paskin like the second reason in the Gemara. What's the second reason in the Gemara? It will be an incentive for more people to kidnap. It will be an incentive for more terrorists. That has absolutely no application in our case. What do you think? If we start commodifying kidneys, so now there's so many more kidneys on the market, more people will say, yeah, let's get sick. Yeah, look at that, there's so many kidneys available. Let me get myself sick. Let me get myself, I don't know what it's called, let me get kidney failure. Right? If the reason has to do with to incentivize, obviously no one's going to be incentivized no matter how many kidneys are available that they want to get sick, right? That's first of all. Second of all, if you look at it does say over here openly, the whole takana was not to pay more than their demand. The whole issue here is you could definitely redeem captives, right? There was a standard price. The whole issue here was not to overpay. So over here we're trying to talk about what does mean overpay. What is the price of a person? So they either say the price is what he's worth on the slave market. The Rabbi says the price is what the going price is for captives. It was a going price. You go on the Wall Street Journal. What's the going price for captives today? There was a going price, whatever it is. So let's think about it. So let's say we do commodify and we legalize kidneys. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a going price. So the whole because there will be a standard price. I presume the government will give a standard price, or it will be based on demand and demand. There will be a price. So that's not yours to take demand. And don't say but now it's free. Now it's free. If we commodify it, so it's going to be 1,000 times more than free, right? Yeah, but free, but there's nothing available. So it's not called, you don't compare free to what the price is going to be when you commodify it. Because now free, but there's nothing available. The way you have to look at it is, what would be the price when we legalize it? So whatever the price is, the legalized price is, let's say 100,000. Okay, so you didn't write, don't buy a kidney for 200,000. That's right, don't do that. So there's no comparison to our issue here. Third of all, I'm only doing this because we're in the 3 weeks. So the famous Gemaras of surprisingly enough, the most famous Gemaras of Tisha B'Av are in Hanizaken, right? That's what everyone learns on Tisha B'Av, which is I think the Daf Yomi is learning it right now. I don't know, somewhere around there. So I think Daf Yomi is Gittin, no?
Yeah.
So I think the Moshe right up there. So the Gemara brings over here a famous story, right? I remember always sitting in Camp Morris with Chaim Berlin. In Tisha B'Av, we would all sit and learn. There was a rabbi who would give over these 3 blot. So Toshma, Ma'aseh B'Sheba Chanina. This is the time of the second Beit Mikdash was destroyed. He went to the Roman city, and there was a Tinoik that was a captive, Yafei Naim. He looked good, Toiv Roi. He had good curls. I don't know why the Gemara has to bring that point. Well, maybe we'll see in a minute. And he saw the kid, and he read a pasuk. He said a pasuk out loud. Mi yitain Mina from Shisa Yaakov Yisrael Boizim. Why is Yaakov in such a terrible state of affairs? Right? Meshisa, like destroyed, cut off. Boizim, they've been plundered. That Tinnik, Haloi Hashem Zuchatan Lo, he quotes another pasuk. Oh, it's our fault because God did, because we sinned to God. Rabbi Shua ben Chanina was so impressed by this kid, and he said, I'm going to redeem this kid no matter how much money it is. I am sure this little kid, it must have been a teeny kid, it must have been like 3-4 years old. I'm sure this kid is going to be a Gadol Adar. And you know what? He went ahead and paid an amazing amount of money, a fabulous amount of money. Who was that kid at the end of the day? Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha was at the end this kid. Okay? Right? Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, that's not the... Is that the Kohen Gadol? It's the Kohen Gadol, right? Yeah. Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. So, Bekitzer. Tyson says, wait 1 minute here. Wait 1 minute. The Mishnah says over here, you're not allowed to overpay for captives. You're not allowed to overpay for captives. So how in the world did Rabbi Shua ben Chanina redeem this kid, Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha? The Tosfos gives two famous answers. One answer is, when there's pikuach nefesh, this doesn't apply. This whole thing that we limited, the amount, the cap, how much you could redeem a captive, that's only with the captive there's no real present pikuach nefesh. There's always pikuach nefesh. Any captive has a minimal danger of life. But when, there's a chance that he won't die. But if for sure he's going to die, like was going on over here in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, they were killing people right and left, the Romans. There, all these tikkun oilams don't apply. That's one answer. One answer famously says, for Talmud Chacham, right? For Talmud Chacham, or someone who's potentially a Talmud Chacham, there's no limitation. There's no cap. This is actually brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, right? So now, another answer he says is, which is brought over here, in the time of the second Beis Hamikdash, people getting captives right and left. It didn't make a difference. Oh, if you don't overcharge, then there won't be so many terrorists. There won't be so many kidnappers. There won't be so many people, so many Jews being captives. No, they were at war. The Romans were capturing everyone indiscriminately. So the whole Takana has no application. Be it as it may, but one teretz of Tosfos is that for pikuach nefesh, all these caps don't apply. All these caps, that's too difficult for the community, or we're afraid we're going to cause more terrorists. That's only when there is no imminent danger to someone. Then we can start having all these type of takanas. But when there's an imminent danger to someone, one teretz is, forget the caps, pay $1 zillion, and be paid them. Now the whole machlokes is to be passing like this Tosfos or not. But be it as it may, by here, like I said, if you look at that Tosfos, no application exists into our case of the kidneys. Why? Because over here people are dying. The kidneys are not being available. There's a dearth in the kidneys. There's not enough kidneys, right? So people are dying. That's what the bottom line is. So again, another reason why this would have no application. Fourth, why this would have no application. The Gemara in Ksubis talks that we learned this in the morning. And I've told this to everyone many times. Many people think that us Orthodox are misogynist, and we take away all the money from women when we get married, right? So the halachically, basically, all the money comes to us, right? So I already explained to you in the morning many times. No, according to the strict Torah law, you don't owe anything of your wife, not one penny. Strict Torah law, the Torah gives you absolutely nothing. You don't own any of our financial assets, zero. Rabbanan made certain takanas for her benefit, not for the man's benefit. And one of those takanas are nichsei malug, right? We learned about it. Any land that it was not in the dowry, right? Not necessarily in the basel. Any land that was not given over as a present for the husband to get married, right? You guys gonna get married, you're gonna ask for 2 diras, right? Nothing less than 2 diras. You don't even know what I'm talking about. In Israel, when you get married, it used to be in the good old days when the diras. Now forget about it. I got 2 diras, yeah, and 2 dogs, yeah, and a pet, and a Corvette, and a Maserati, yeah. Anyway, be as it may, So there's a dowry, that's called Nixay Sain Barzo, right? But the Torah gave you Nixay Malug. So I told you in the morning that what is this Nixay Malug? Why is God giving? Why is Rabbi giving the husbands the right to the property of his wife? Again, what does he have? He has the right to the payers, right? He doesn't own the property, but any rent or any profit that's extracted from the property goes to the husband. So what does the Gemara say? Because they gave to the husband in the eventuality that the woman gets captured, the husband must redeem her, right? So basically, I said it's a communal obligation for the community to redeem pid and shvum. Okay, but get the community to do it. It's not so simple, right? It doesn't happen all the time. So the Rabbi said, listen, husbands, we're going to give you Nixay Malug, which, by the way, rarely ever happens, because usually the woman did not have her own property. It's very rare cases that the woman would have her own property. And you're going to get the payers, and therefore, if a woman, your wife, ever gets captured, it seems that a lot of husbands would say, okay, send me a postcard. Hey, you got captured. You're the Caribbean. Look at the nice pirate ship. It looks so exotic. No, right? No. So a lot of husbands were not so interested in being paid to their wife. So they made this takana. You get Nixay Malug, and you're paid to and you have to be paid to the wife, no matter what. Meaning, it was a universal takana. Even if a husband actually didn't get Nixay Malug because his wife was dirt poor, he would still have to redeem the wife. It was the men against the women. Since men get Nixay Malug in general, now they have to be paid the women. It doesn't make a difference if an individual man didn't get Nixay Malug because his wife didn't have any money to give him, right? Right? Nixay Malug classically would be a wife gets an inheritance after they're married, so it wasn't included in the dowry. Okay, so we talked about this in the morning, right? Nixay Malug. Okay, so the Gemara talks about over here. Oh, okay, yeah. Husband, you gotta be paid to the woman you gotta be paid to the woman. You gotta be paid to your wife. That's it. Don't think you gotta wait. Don't think that you could just say, okay, bye. No. So Gemara says, how much money do you have to be paid to her for? Gemara says, well, the first time she gets captured, at least 10 times her price. At least 10 times what she's worth. So Tosfos asks, what? You have a Mishnah Gittin, you're not to be paid to more than the worth of a captive. So what in the world is Gemara talking about here? At least 10 times of what she's worth. So Tosfos asks this question, and Tosfos says something very romantic and quite beautiful. He says, wait a minute. All these takanas, whatever reason it is, too harsh in the community or it's going to incentivize the kidnappers and terrorists. That all those takanas could only limit the community to help someone. The community says, "Oh, look, George got captured again, third time this week, right? Oh, George. Oh, okay, everyone. The terrorists won $1 billion. Okay, let's go around to the Pushka. Gonna go to the Pushka to shul. $1 billion. Another. Oh, I can't take it anymore. It's too much. Or, oh my gosh, if we do this again, George will get captured again. It will never end. Incentivize the kidnappers. It will go on and on and on. That's all. We can only limit the community. But George himself, we can never make a takana on someone and say, don't redeem yourself. Even though we have good reasons, there are good reasons for it. Whatever the reasons are, if you, George, pay every single time, maybe it's going to incentivize the kidnappers to capture Sally and Frank and Harry and everything is right. But we can never limit someone on his own life to say, oh, because of a tikkun item, we're not going to let you to be paid to yourself. That doesn't apply. All right? And yourself and your wife are one and the same. Isn't that beautiful? And yourself and your wife are one and the same. So what was the question? How could the Gemara here talking about being paid to your wife, redeem wife for 10 times the amount? What happened to Mishnah in Gittin? So Tais says, no, Mishnah has no application to you, meaning if you're supplying the money, or to be po to your wife. Because you and the wife are one and the same, and there's no cut in the world can limit what you could do to help yourself. We can't tell you, oh, sorry, you can't help yourself because of our extenuating reasons or whatever, our outside reasons. So Tais says over here, feel the time even if the reason is because we're going to incentivize the kidnappers. There's no takana about a person himself. Or bad or he brings tzukim. The pasuk in Eov, right? I'm sure we all learned Eov recently. Or bad or a person, you can't tell a person sacrifice yourself for some type of community reasons, right? And of course, your wife is like you. So any limitation, but he says your daughter, that's something different. Your daughter, like we said in the Gemara, there was a lady's daughter got captured, and could be the rabbis were not happy that he was paying the daughter for 12,000 dinar, because it would cause more kidnappings, and cause more terrorist attacks, and cause more captivities and more capturings. The beat of the mate. So if that's so then they have no application over here also. We're talking about kidneys. What are we talking about here? Oh, we're looking at the Gemara Gittin to be a source. But the Gemara Gittin is only talking about the community, or maybe outside people supplying money. But we can never limit a person who needs a kidney to not be able to give money to get the kidney. The person himself, or for his wife. And basically, so anyone, even if you don't have money, you'll go borrow money from the bank. You'll always be able to get the money. If your life is online, you're going to get the money. But when you're captive, you won't be able to get the money because you are tied up in a boat by the pirates. So there's no way for you to get the money. So it's only the community that's going to get involved, all the relatives. But by the kidney case, you're here. The person who needs the kidney is here. So he will have the money. Either he will have the money or he will get the money. So I'm just showing you another reason why the Gemara in Gittin has no application to our scenario. And of course, actually some place can paskin like the first reason. That the reason that it's going to be the reason is that you can't redeem captives more than their price is because it's going to be too much of a tax on the community. So if you look past that reason, then definitely there's no application here, because no one's asking the community to pay for the kidney. The person who needs the kidney, he'll pay, or there will be an organization who will pay. According to the first reason, there was a community tax, and it's not fair to do a community. What they got to do with anything? We'll commodify, we'll legalize kidneys. Either the person will have the money, there'll be some chesed organization. No one will be forced. You want to give a donation? Gesundheit. You don't want to give a donation? Don't give a donation. Right? So it's only in the Gemara time when there was an official attack on the community. It's not fair. Okay, everybody say. I could go on and on and on and say why. I just use this as I just like that there were certain rabbis who used this Gemara, and the other rabbis actually said you can't use this Gemara as a basis for your concept of commodifying and monetizing kidney donation. Be the make. But you know what? Let's say those other rabbis, we'll call them leftist rabbis. I'm not knocking them. They don't really mean this Gemara. They don't mean it's exactly like this. There's actually many more. I can sit here all day and make differences. They just mean, we see this concept of tikkun olam, so maybe it should apply over here too. Not exactly like this Gemara. So first of all, we could say, okay, so there's a concept of tikkun olam. Who says we have a right in the 21st century, 22nd century, what are we holding? Wherever we're holding over here, 2022, that we can start making takanas, our own takanas. Now there is a precedence of certain cities making community. I just speaking with someone about the Syrian community made a takana. You can't marry gay women. You can't do. There is a precedence, but to make like a worldwide type of takana, it's not so clear if anyone has that power nowadays. Okay, but. Now we're just going to debate the issues. We'll just debate the issues. Are they right or are they wrong? what are they claiming? Right? This is more, not so much halachic, this is more just talking shop. Is this right or wrong? What do they say? What do the leftists say? They say, you know what? That now it's for free. It's true it is a shortage, but at least everyone has equal opportunity. If we charge, it's going to cost a lot of money, and only the rich will be able to get it. The poor won't be able to get it, so it's not fair. What are they talking about? That's one of the reasons. The economical, the clash of the classes, poor against rich. So first of all, you're looking at it the wrong way. You're saying, oh, it's not fair because some poor people won't be able to get the kidneys. Okay, let's say that's true. Let's say that is true. We'll see soon it's not true. Let's say it is true. You know what? But if you legalize kidneys, there are going to be a lot of poor people who are going to end up having now a lot of money. Who's going to give the kidneys for money? People who need the money. So, okay, you're right. Maybe there'll be a group of poor people that would have been able to get kidneys if they won the lottery. Basically a lottery or whatever. And now they won't win. But you know what? That's counterbalanced by the fact that there are now 40,000, whatever, there are a bunch of poor people who are now getting a lot of money that they need. So for example, let's say there's a poor person whose kid, Nebuch, has cancer. Nebuch. And he needs a treatment. And that poor person can't afford it. But if he can donate his kidney, he's going to get a nice big fat check for $100,000. And now he could save his kid. Because since he donated his kidney, he got a nice big paycheck. So it's just not right to look at, if you look at it very narrowly, oh, now the poor people can't get the kidneys. Before they could, and now they can't. Yeah, but when you legalize it, there are other poor people who are actually getting money that they need, and that money they can use to save someone in their family that may be sick. That's number one. Two is, I don't know if you know, but in a capitalist country, there are going to be poor people and there are going to be rich people. And the rich people are going to get a lot better treatment medically than poor people. What are we latching on to? Oh, it's not fair by kidneys. It's not fair by the kidneys. If we legalize it, you know what's going to happen? Some poor people won't get the kidneys. It's not fair. And what about all the other zillion other medical problems? What happens in a capitalist country? Most of the time, the rich people live longer. I mean, they get better. They have better medical care, better medical treatment, and that's just the way it is. Life stinks. That's just the way it is. Rich people have better health care than poor people. That's just the way it is. So what are you going to? So what are you latching in about? A punct about the kidneys. Oh, terrible. The poor are not going to be treated as good as the rich. That's happening anyway all the time, right? So what do you want to do? You want to become a communist? What do you want to do? This is the way it is in a capitalist society. What is the Torah? What is the Gemara? What type of economy do we see that the Torah likes? Capitalist. If you ever look at Gemara, it's very capitalistic. There are it's almost like it's very like America. It's capitalistic, hands off. There are certain takanas to try to regulate it a little bit, but the Torah is clearly is for a capitalist type of society. And in a capitalist type of society, poor people are going to not have the greatest medical care. It's just the way it is. The Torah knows that. That's just the way it is. There's going to be class. There's going to be rich and poor. You don't like it? Go to Russia. I don't know where it is. Go to North Korea. Go wherever it is. This is what it is. So, just to latch on about the kidney, that's not fair. Three. The three is you're missing the boat. What we would do is, if we legalize and monetize the kidney donations, we would have the insurance companies pay for it. We'd have the government pay for it. Right now, it costs more money for people to be on dialysis. Anyway, the money's being spent. The money's being spent. Someone's spending the money.
It makes them money.
If you stay on dialysis for years and years and years, it costs a fortune of money.
But it makes them money.
It's a fortune of money. So the whole thing is ridiculous. Oh, monetize. It's terrible. The poor won't get. Why won't the poor won't get? The poor are getting dialysis. If they're getting dialysis, they can get the same kidney. If they're not getting the dialysis, they're not going to get the they're not going to get the if they're not getting the kidney, they're not going to get the dialysis either. The whole point is that it should be insurance. The insurance should pay for it, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever these things are, and it will be actually cheaper. It will be cheaper for the government. It will be better for the government in the long run. Okay? Or we can make a special tax. We could do something very minimal. Some idea. Put a $5 tax, an income tax. Put an extra $5 to pay for kidneys. Put something minimal. And when you have 300 million people paying taxes, right? And you add even $1 or two, it will pay for everything. Okay? No. Now. They say, they'll have to say, there's another problem. It's exploiting the poor. Why is it exploiting the poor? Because who's the ones who go donate the kidneys? The poor. The rich people are not going to donate the kidneys. They don't need the money. Who's going to not donate? Who's going to actually offer their kidneys? The poor, because they need the money. So that's called exploiting the poor. That's not fair. Not just to exploit the poor, because that's what's going to come out. If we legalize it, at the end of the day, it's the poor who are going to be giving the kidneys. That's called exploiting the poor. So the counter argument: what in the world? Why is that called exploiting the poor? Do you think the rich people are the butlers and the maids and the menial workers, and the drudge workers? Who does all that type of work? Poor. The rich people don't do that because they don't want to do that work. No one wants to do that work. So why is that not called exploiting the poor? What's the difference in everything in the world that poor do things that they don't want to do because they need the money? That's the way the world works at a capitalist society. So what in the world are you saying? Oh, exploiting the poor because only the poor are the ones going to give the kidneys, and only the poor are waiters, and usually only the poor enter the army. Usually, it's usually the lower class people who enter the army. I don't know low class in who they are. I'm talking about low class in their money. So that's the way things work, right? You know, what do you want to do? You have a big fancy house. You want to give the fancy house to the poor, and you'll live in squalor. I mean, what do you want? This is the way it works. So this is a bad argument. Anyway, the whole thing is ridiculous. If you're dealing with the issue of it's not fair for the poor, it's going to cost too much money, this whole thing's ridiculous. At the end of the day, if we legalize it, more poor people will get kidneys. More will get kidneys. Because what we could do is the rich will have to pay, and the people who donate will actually donate just to the poor. We'll have we can set it up based on who you are, how much money you're worth. If you have a lot of money, you have to pay. If you don't have a lot of money, the ones that donate will donate to the poor. There'll be chesed organizations. The whole thing is ridiculous. No one will be exploited. No one will be hurt. The whole thing is ridiculous. By the way, surrogacy.
They get money.
They get lots. They get hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're a surrogate mother, you get I don't know what the price is. You get why is that okay? Why is that okay? Why? First of all, to become a surrogate mother is dangerous. It's a lot more dangerous than donating a kidney. Like we said last week, like the doctor said,
Yeah, but surrogacy is
donating your kidney after you've been tested is the danger is almost zilch. Almost zilch. There's absolutely no danger. So a surrogate mother, to be a surrogate mother, surrogate mother is actually a lot more dangerous. And there, the surrogate mother is allowed to take money. She's allowed to take a lot of money. So what's the difference? Why is that okay? Why is that okay? So now we're going to talk about the philosophical reasons, which is really the reasons of the left. What are the philosophical reasons? The philosophical reasons are, to donate a kidney is such a beautiful act. It's so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's so magnanimous. It's so altruistic. Such a thing can't be marred by money. That's a good philosophical argument. A good liberal outlook. Such an act is it could be so pure, could be so beautiful. Society should not allow it to be marred, tainted with money. It's nice. Or you can't even another way, it's flip side of the coin. The first rule in being a doctor is, what's the first rule they see in being a doctor? Thou shalt not harm. That is the first in the Hippocratic oath. Thou shalt not harm. So how can you take a liver? How can you take a kidney or liver from this live guy? You're harming him. You're breaking the first rule. The first rule, you don't harm a guy. So they say, really, you can't. But if he's giving it to free to someone else, that makes it such a big mitzvah. That makes it so holy and so ethereal and so spiritual and so transcendent. Somehow or other, it's not called you breaking the first rule. If you take it for money, it's called you harming him. But if he's giving it for spiritual reasons, somehow or other that sort of like whitewashes the fact that you're hurting him. It makes it so holy and so special, and it's not called you're hurting him. Some type of sorrow like that. Some type of sorrow. Such a great act shouldn't be tainted with money. This is a philosophical. This is one of the main reasons. What should I tell you? It's a little bit being hypocritical. Okay. So the donor can't take the donor can't take money, but the doctors who do the surgery, they could take money because the doctors take a lot of money. The donor can't take the money, but the doctor could take the money, right? And to join the army, that's also not such a beautiful act. You're willing to risk your life. You're basically risking your life to save your country. Maybe you shouldn't get paid for that too, because it's such a beautiful act. Why mar it by taking money for it? And what does that mean? We're on to who decided that this act is so beautiful that we shouldn't mar by money? Who decided it? Who made us? Some leftists who don't need the kidneys anyway because they got $1 zillion anyway, and they probably get it. They probably do it illegally behind the back some other way. Like who decides? Who makes these decisions? Who makes these decisions? You're going to tell me that it's such a beautiful act I can't charge for it, right? This is a weak argument. I feel it's a weak argument. They say it's disrespectful to humanity, right? Slavery. Are we anti-slavery? Of course we're anti-slavery. We're not for slavery, right? It's terrible, right? So it's like a form of slavery. It's disrespectful to humanity. To charge for a limb is disrespectful to humanity. I can hear. Have a little respect. There's certain things you shouldn't. Certain things are worth more than money.
My body, my choice.
It has no value. It has no value, and therefore you can't charge money for it. And if you do, it's disrespectful, right? Why is slavery not right? It's disrespectful. Have a little respect. No. Okay, I can't do that. You know what? It's also disrespectful for people to be dying and for people to be on dialysis.
What about my body, my choice?
You know what dialysis is? 2-3 times a week. You're hooked up for hours and hours to a machine. That's also very disrespectful. And you know what? The poor person who's living in squalor, and if you give him a nice check for $100,000 to give a kidney, again, and there's it's almost 100% sure nothing will happen to the guy, that's also disrespectful for him to have to live in squalor. So who for you to decide it's disrespectful? So, who are you to make the decisions? Some guy sitting up there, he decided it's disrespectful for humanity. Maybe not. Maybe it's not disrespectful. On the contrary, you're helping someone out, you get paid a little bit for it, and win-win. Okay? I personally think the best argument is the argument that, listen to this one. If we commodify and legalize kidney donations, it will lead to rape, murder, kidnapping, wars, and mayhem. How is that? Because if you advertise that people are like a chattel or like cattle, yeah. You're gonna go to the freezer in the grocery. Get me a kidney. No, not the human kidney. I want the chicken kidney. You got the wrong one. It will sort of like send a message to society. Oh, people are like products. People are, you buy a car, you buy glasses, you buy a person, you buy a kidney, you buy a guy's heart. It will send a message to society that people are just like objects, they objectify people, or they're just like something you own. So I'll be. So next time a murderer is about, should I murder or not murder? Yeah, what's the big deal? I kill a cow, I kill a person. Look, you sell cows, you sell people. It will send a certain type of message to society that people are not worth. The second you put a price on people, it sends this message to society: people are just things. And therefore people, sure, I'll rape her. What do I care? She's just a thing. Sure, I'll make a war. Why not? I want Ukraine for myself. I'll make a war. Why not? Well, who cares if hundreds of thousands of people die? Yeah, why not? Right? I actually like this argument the best. I actually like the argument. It sounds sounds a little bit crazy, but if you think about it, I can hear it developing. But the answer to this is obviously, what's the answer? Package it the right way. Make sure you package it the right way. Don't package it the right way. Get some, present it on an advertisement. We are looking for some brave people to save other people, and you're going to get like a little side money on the side, but you're doing a great deed. It all depends on how you package it. It all depends how you package it. So, bottom line is, on both sides, some say, go to any random person on the street. Right now, go outside. Do you think it's right to charge for kidneys? Their initial reaction will cringe. So, no, not at all. So, some philosophers say, since a natural reaction of human beings would be to cringe from the idea, must be wrong. That's wrong.
I'll ask some random person after sure.
Well, first of all, it really depends which country you're in. It depends which country you're in. And second of all,
in Africa, they'd be like, sure.
Good, we ask some random people, but they don't know all the statistics that I'm telling you now. They don't know anything. Yeah, if I'll go over to some random person, I want to buy your kidney for $12. Is that okay? I'll pull it out. Don't worry about it. Of course I'll think you're crazy. Of course it sounds crazy. If you explain to them the whole situation, that if you give the kidney, you'll help someone else. We'll give you some money. The risks are very limited, right? The risks are very limited. So obviously, it doesn't make a difference. Bottom line is, there's a famous Rabbi Professor Steinberg. He is like he's a professor rabbi. In Israel, professors are actually doctors that have a certain type of seniority. They call professors. In America, you call a professor someone who teaches in college. In Israel, a professor is actually a very sophisticated doctor. That's the way he works in Israel. So if you go to a regular doctor in Israel, if you're paying private, you're paying 500 shekel. If you're going to go to a professor, it's 1,200 shekel. That much. That's how you know That's how you know, right? So there's a professor, Rabbi Steinberg, very, very famous, very famous. He wrote like a zillion books. He's very close to all the Gedolim. He's like the first one to write all these books on medical Halacha. He's very, very famous. Books like 20, 30 books. Like, unbelievable. I don't know how the man had the time to do all this. The bottom line is, he went to all the Gedolim. And he sat with the Gedolim, and he went through all these reasons and much more reasons. I don't have time. The Gedolim looked at him like he was a little bit off the wall. He said, listen, you got all these svaras and all these philosophical and economical and this svara and that svara. It's bad for society. People won't respect human beings. All the svaras. They said, bottom line is, if you introduce more, if you legalize it, will more people live or more people die? Immediately. He said, more people will live. The said, legalize it. We don't want to hear any of your svaras. All your svaras. Yeah, right. First of all, half the svaras are crazy and they're wrong. But even if they may have some legitimacy, the said, listen, if you legalize it, what will be happening in the next month? Oh, in the next month, a lot more people will be living. So they said 100% Halacha would say yes to legalize it. And he said, yeah, but if you legalize it, it's true, much more amount of people will live. But maybe there was one guy, if it wasn't legalized, he would get it for free. And now that it's legalized, he can't afford it. So maybe there'll be one guy who will actually die because you legalized it. And if you didn't legalize it, he would live. Dalim said it's ridiculous. That's not the way you look at it. You look at globally, if you legalize it, 10,000 more people will live, and you don't even know, you're not even sure about this one guy. It's all theoretical. Rabbi Orba, Rabbi Yashiv, they all said we should legalize it, but the government says not. And I explained to you the reasons why not. Okay, Rabbi Isai, it's time to end. It's definitely time to end. And you think that we covered all the issues of kidneys, right? We have not even started. I know it's hard for you to believe. It's hard for me to believe either. One, we're not going to do any of this because it's going to take too long. What age are you allowed to donate a kidney? Big machlokes, 18, 20, 13. What age are you allowed to donate a kidney? Right? Big machlokes amongst the poskim. What age? Most poskim say 20 years old, based on many Gemaras that say you can only sell land when you're 20 years old. And giving a kidney shouldn't be less than land. So even though you figure 13 years old when you're a gadol, right? Gadol, 13 years old. Right? No. For this type of issue, it should be 20. A whole big machlokes about that. Big shadow that came up not too long ago.
Sell a kidney for Talmud Torah.
There was a Down syndrome kid in Nebuch who basically only had a father. Down syndrome kids are healthy. They're healthy. I think the girls could have children, the males can't. I don't forget how it goes by Down syndrome. But whatever, man, they're good kids, they're wonderful kids, right? They're healthy, they're strong, they're good. If you take care of them, they can live at least to 50, 60 nowadays. And what happened was the father needed a kidney, and the only one who would have been a good donor was the Down syndrome kid, or whatever it was, Down syndrome, a challenged kid, whatever it was. The question was, could they take the kidney from the kid? You can't get consent from the kid. He's mentally challenged. He's challenged. He's like a shaita. Oh, what a bruhaha! What a machlokes in the poskim. And it gets involved what we talk about in the morning about apitropis and about being zachin, doing things for someone else that'll be for the benefit. I mean, the argument was there was this kid and the father. If the father goes, the kid's in trouble. The kid will be taken to some home, and that's it. So could we say, even though the kid can't give consent, but we could decide that it's beneficial for the kid for him to give his kidney?
There's no difference in his life.
Right? Why?
No.
Why?
Yeah, if he doesn't give a kidney.
If he doesn't give a kidney, his father died.
No,
and no one,
physical health.
And no one.
Health-wise, for him.
Yeah, but bottom line is you need consent to give a kidney. Bottom line is you need consent. You can't take. I can't go to you and take a kidney. You need consent. Like we said, you got to be 20 years old even. So bottom line, you need consent. You don't have.
Halakhically or morally?
No, halakhically. Of course, halakhically. Halakhically, you need consent, especially if we say that it's not. Anyway, you need consent. First of all, the kid had the mentally challenged kid, the Down syndrome kid, probably has no chiva mitzvahs. Of course, you need consent to take a kidney. What type of question is that, right? Especially if you said it's not really a mitzvah. It's not really a mitzvah. It's a good thing to do, but you're not chiv. So you wouldn't believe all the Gedolim places were. It's a very weighty issue. Very weighty issue. Would they allow to take this kidney from this kid? What else? Well, here's one that I want to discuss, but we're not going to get to. So there was a donor who had a good friend, and he gave a kidney to the recipient. He gave a kidney. Right, wonderful, gewaldig. A year later, as a recipient, had a sign of gratitude, cheated with the donor's wife. That's what happened. The donor took the recipient to court. He wanted his kidney back. The question, you hear the crazy story, the craziness. So the question was, could the donor say he wants his kidney back? It has to do with what we spoke about before. Who owns the kidney? Who doesn't own the kidney? So this is the actual case that happened. Okay, next question that we didn't talk with. Okay. A gives a kidney to B. A and B die eventually. Where do you bury the kidney with, B or A? Who? You're supposed to bury a person with all his body parts, right?
You don't open it to that person.
Well, that's the question. That's the question.
You gotta make him bleed to take out that suffering.
If
Your father can make a body
A
bleed
donated the
for
kidney to
suffering.
B, but it's really still A's kidney, maybe after they both die, obviously not before they die, but after they both die, eventually you should take the kidney from B and bury it with A.
But it's a suffering.
Right? Because that's where it belongs.
Eating the suffering.
What's suffering?
The suffering is where the kidney belongs, in a new body or a new body.
You want to give this shit? I'm just telling you, Shiloh. Like I said,
It's anything to the switcheroo with
I'm just telling you, Shiloh.
Rachel and Leah.
I'm not going. It will
Who's
take
the
too long,
mother?
right?
Who's the mother?
The big Shiloh, which I will, right?
Who's the
Right,
mother?
right. That's exactly the Shiloh. Do you say once the kidney went to B, it had no connection anymore to A, right? Another big Shiloh, which maybe we'll touch on one day. Okay, a lot of times kidney donations are from dead people. They're called motor donors, right? The motorcycle people, motor donors, right? A lot of times, where are we holding? Okay, we're finished here. A lot of times, the donations of kidneys don't have to come from live people. Okay, could the relatives of the dead person asked for money for the kidney. Okay, so we called relatives. Listen, we're so sorry your dad died. He was a great guy. Why don't you do a mitzvah? We need his kidney to save someone. Relatives say, okay, give me $100,000. I'll do it for $100,000. Can the relatives charge money? Now we could ask again, government.
You can.
We could ask again. We could ask about what the government holds. I'm talking about halachically. What's the issues? Well, even if you want to say that you own your own kidney, do you own your dad's kidney after he died? You own that?
Yerusha.
Second of all, we all know that a mace is asr b'hana. You can't have enough from a dead person. So if you charge money for your dad's kidney or whatever it is, you're going to get hana. Okay, I'm not going there now. You just asked me, are we fine? You already gave 5 shirim on kidneys or whatever. I can't give another 10.
Let's go.
It goes on and on and on. Right? There was actually a shiloh. It's exactly what the shiloh happened. Same type of shiloh. A gave a kidney to B. And it worked. It worked. B died. And A said, now I want to give that kidney to C. Because you could give a kidney if the guy dies, if you package it right away. And B, in his will, wrote he wants to give the kidney to D. Same type of question. So A gave it to B, and A wanted after B dies that it should go to C, and B wanted it to go to D. It's all the same type of questions. All the same type of questions. Rabbi Isai, we're finished.
50th anniversary.
Finished. Why are you finished? Because if you know in the word kidney is K in the alphabet has very small, there's not many words in K in the alphabet. I've really ran out of titles. So I got kidney karma, but what's gonna be the next one? Kidney conclusion, kidney continuation. That doesn't spell with C, by the way. So it's not gonna really work. It's not gonna really work out for me. So believe me, the next time we'll talk about autopsies and we'll actually come back to this. But don't worry, we haven't left exactly. Okay, Rabbi Isai.